Thank you for joining us for this third episode of our Release Notes live stream.
All right, let's dive in. To kick us off, let's talk what Release Notes is all about.
If you missed our last episode, this series is your go-to source of the latest and greatest from Figma.
We'll remind you what we've shipped recently, and because we can't host a live stream without a new feature drop, we'll of course be sharing a few new releases live today for everyone. If you like this format, let us know and we'll keep this series going.
My name is Kaitie Chambers, and I'm an advocate here at Figma.
And my name is Sarah Kelly. I'm a product marketer here at Figma. We're so excited to share today's content with you all.
Joining us today, we also have Figmates Luis Bento and Roy Fu from our engineering team, who will be helping us with some live demos. All of our social handles are listed under our names, so you can connect with us and follow us there. All right, Sarah, should we get started?
Let's do it and kick things off with the Figma Slides.
Figma Slides just got even better. Creating and enhancing presentations is now faster and more seamless than ever. Here's what's new. To get started, I'm going to hop out of our presentation view here and over to Figma Design to start. So in Figma Design, if you start your slides there, you can now, with just one click over here, convert existing slides created in Figma Design into fully polished decks in Figma Slides. This can streamline your workflow and ensure a seamless transition from design to presentation. Back in Figma Slides, you can now manage your Figma Slides template styles right from design mode. So if you're in slides mode, you can toggle over to design mode and you can edit your template styles from either mode now. This improvement simplifies your workflow so that if you're refining your design elements in Figma design mode here in Figma Slides, you can also edit your template styles at the same time, ensuring consistency and efficiency when creating those templates for you. One last thing. Some of you might have seen this one already, but you can now see exactly who's viewed your shared files. So you can view this here, and outside users will not be tracked within your files, only logged in Figma accounts. And additionally, you can also turn this off in your account settings if you'd like. But this can be helpful for specific stakeholders that you need to keep informed and also to give you visibility so that you can make sure that everybody's aligned as you're presenting and sharing out resources. But get ready now. We have an exciting new drop that's hitting for everyone today. You can now use plugins in Figma Slides to streamline tasks, shortcut your way to advanced slide designs, and make your workflow even smoother. And now, to take us through plugins in Figma Slides, I'm excited to introduce Roy Fu, an engineer here at Figma.
Thanks, Kaitie.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Roy. How are you doing?
Good. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm excited to show you a live demo of plugins in Figma Slides. So my friend Clarice is hosting a Drink Talk Learn next week, where everyone is expected to give a presentation at this party. So I've been preparing my talk in Figma Slides on why my dog Torty would be a good candidate for the severance procedure. Overall, my slides are looking pretty good, but I have this one where I'm outlining which perks my dog will like and feels like it needs some extra oomph. That's where Iconify comes in real handy. With Iconify, I can add some emojis that'll really show why my dog will love having a waffle party. So if I search waffle.
Who wouldn't love a waffle party,
right? Right? Certainly Torty would.
Us and Torty.
Certainly.
Add some for party. Cool. And let's place these aesthetically. All right, that's looking right as rain. For my friend's event, there's also a coveted award for the speaker who can get their presentation closest to 3 minutes without going over. With Rehearse, I'm able to practice giving my presentation to see how long I'm spending on each slide. So let me run Rehearse, and then maybe if we do a dry run from the top. Hi, everyone. I'm here today to tell you all why my dog would be a great candidate for the procedure colloquially known as severance. Meet Torty F, a dog that quite frankly has a lot of fears. As told through these eccentric circles, Torty's fears include unknown noises, children, buses, and most of all, my partner Allison leaving for work, and so on. Okay, let's say I've rehearsed this a few times and ready to share it out with people at the party so they can follow along. If I go into grid view, I can see that, we have some photos off to the side, maybe some inspiration while I was making the slides. This is where Clean Deck comes in real handy. So with Clean Deck, I can have it remove everything that's not directly in the presentation. So if I click off slide layers, hit clean, now this deck is ready to be shared out. So these are just a few plugins that are now available on Figma Slides. Check them out, and if you don't find one for your particular use case, we encourage you to build your own. To learn how, visit figma.com/developers to get started. That's it for me. Back to you, Kaitie.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Roy.
Thanks so much, Roy. Those are some awesome Figma Slides updates. Excited to hear about plugins in Figma Slides and also learn a little bit about Torty. Can't wait for those slides parties. What about you, Sarah?
So excited. Let us know in the chat if you're like Torty and also have those fears.
I think it's time now to hop over to FigJam. Let's get jamming. And we have a few exciting updates for you here in FigJam. The first thing is that we introduced new colors to FigJam. Now we have new colors in stickies, in shapes, and also in your sections. So if you click on your sections, you have your section colors here. This will give you your boards a fresh and modern look. And for those of you who were telling us how important red stickies are, we heard you. Red stickies are back, and you can find them along with all of the other sticky colors here. So that's new colors in sticky. Next, when speaking of stickies, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm working with a group like we are now, we have a lot of folks in here, we're adding a bunch of stickies to our board, we're ideating, everything's going well until something happens. And someone maybe starts moving the board, moving the section, you're like, where is everything going? Or inevitably, something happens and it disappears entirely. I don't know. Write in the chat if this has ever happened to you. It's definitely happened to me in a group session, and there's a little bit of a panic moment. Unfortunately, in the past, you couldn't lock that section because then people couldn't add stickies, they couldn't interact with the content that was in there. So you could either trade off between that or chaos. Well, fear no more. We have changed this, and now if you go into your section and you're getting ready for that brainstorm with your team again, at the top of the section you will have this lock option, and you now see two options here. So you can lock everything, but you can also just lock the background only. This allows folks to still interact with the content in the board, or in the section. You can add stickies, you can react to stickies, move the stickies as needed, but you don't have to worry about the section getting moved or deleted as you do that. So this can help you keep your canvas organized and secured for those large group sessions that you might be running. A very small but mighty improvement in my opinion. Now let's take a look at how diagramming works in FigJam. Whether you're mapping out workflows, planning projects, or brainstorming with your team, FigJam has all the tools you need. You can start with simple shapes and connectors like those that you're seeing here, then add labels, sticky notes, and even emojis to bring your diagrams to life. Plus, with real-time collaboration, your whole team can jump in, share ideas, and iterate together. Speaking of, I see someone who's been in the file who knows this next feature inside and out. Please join me in welcoming Bento, who will be an engineer here at Figma, who will be walking us through the demo of these latest exciting updates. Welcome, Luis.
Hello.
Hey, Luis.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks so much for being here. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of love for these features.
Yeah.
So I can't
Nice.
wait to see what you have in store.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being here today. I'm thrilled to walk you through some exciting diagram improvements in FigJam. And to showcase these updates, I'll be using this example diagram of one feature that we have on FigJam, which is mention users on stickies, just to give you a closer look on how everything works. First thing you'll notice is our new shape sidebar, which organizes everything you need neatly so you can quickly find everything. There's also a new recents section where your most recently used shapes will appear and saves you time when working on iterative designs. And for more advanced diagrams, we have added more specialized shapes to better illustrate technical workflows or any like other architecture diagrams. Just like this.
Very nice.
And you now have even more control over customization. You can change stroke colors on shapes, this, and also on sections, all independent of the fill color. That means you can give your diagrams a more polished and professional look. And finally, you can move connectors, labels out of connectors. So you can move them out here just to make it easy to adjust those labels and make it give you more clarity on complex diagrams. And in case you haven't used this one yet, we also added better edge detection for connectors. So you can connect anywhere around the shape, just like this, instead of only the cardinal points. Yeah, and all these updates are live and ready for you to start diagramming. That's it for me, and back to you, Sarah.
Wow, thanks, Luis. I see the chat going crazy.
I'm
for those
seeing
new features.
lots of heart reactions, lots of confetti. Folks are loving it. Thank you so much, Luis, and the entire FigJam team for all of these exciting updates.
Yes, those were some awesome FigJam features, but now let's dive into design tools updates together. We've got some exciting new features to make designing in Figma even more powerful and efficient. From quality of life improvements to powerful new ways to streamline your design process, these changes are built to make Figma design tools feel even smoother. Here's a closer look at what's new. Lock aspect ratio, one of my favorite new releases, helps maintain the proportional relationship between an object's width and height. When you lock the aspect ratio of an object, it ensures that no matter how you resize the object or its parent object, the width and height stay perfectly proportional. This is especially useful for keeping images looking consistent and avoiding distortion while scaling complex designs. All right, to demonstrate this one, I'll be using this live example to give you a closer look at how it works and why it's so useful. So before, when we did not have lock aspect ratio, take a look at this UI card I have set up here. When I try to resize the parent, you can see that the proportions of the children inside are not respected. Not what I wanted. Now, with lock aspect ratio, you can go ahead and select something like this image inside your parent, navigate to the design panel on the right, and this little icon you see here is lock aspect ratio. When I turn it on, it turns blue and a fun little animation appears between the width and the height, indicating that these are now locked. So now when I try to resize the parent, you can see that everything inside and the parent and their proportions are perfectly proportional. Great. Let's try another example here. I have these image grids set up. Same thing, when I try to resize this image grid that I have set up with auto layout, all of the images inside are not maintaining their proportions. Now, with lock aspect ratio, I can actually select all of the children inside, turn on lock aspect ratio, and now look what happens when I try to resize this image grid. You can see that all of the images inside and their proportions are maintained. Great. This is especially useful when, let's say, you're designing something with a ton of different interfaces, thumbnails, or images. Think of something like a streaming service or a game UI or even a product listing, to just name a few. All right, that's it for lock aspect ratio. Let's move on to another very useful improvement, horizontal scrolling in the layers panel in UI 3. When working with nested layers or frames, it can sometimes get tricky to see everything at a glance. So follow me over to this design file I have set up for horizontal scrolling. All right, here's our fun file we have. So you can see in the layers panel to the left, when I open up these deeply nested frames, some of those frames and their names are getting cut off. It makes it tricky for me to see everything and manage that deeply nested content. So now with horizontal scrolling, I can actually scroll all the way to the right and all the way back, making it easier for me to see everything at a glance. So we know many of you were asking for this feature, and we wanted to make sure it was perfect, not just to scroll, but to actually be responsive when you use things, let's say, like keyboard shortcuts. So for example, let me quickly close this frame here. And quick tip, if you hold Option and hit L on your keyboard, you can quickly close those frames. And now, let's say I want to get to the deeply nested content, which in this case is this little smiley face inside. So now you can just hit Return on your keyboard and watch what happens. Horizontal scrolling moves responsively with me all the way to that next content. And if you want to go back out, traverse back to the top, you can hold Shift and hit Return on your keyboard. And same thing, horizontal scrolling moves dynamically with me back to the top. Super helpful when making edits to any of your deeply nested content. All right, let's move on to our next update for design tools, frame improvements. This update comes with 3 improvements to make working with frames faster and more intuitive. First, I know many of you have been doing this manually already, but a new frame dropped on a blank canvas will now be positioned at 0, 0, giving you a clean and consistent starting point every time. Now move with me to the middle here. Next, when you add another frame to the canvas, the default frame size will be set to the last frame you used, helping you maintain consistency without any extra effort. Super helpful. And finally, with new quick add functionality, you can now add new frames beside or between existing frames with just one click. This is especially useful for, let's say you have UI designs like a checkout flow, all of your screens are already made, but you want to add something like a loading screen between those frames. The quick add feature will duplicate the frame you initiated the quick add from, whether it's blank or has content in it. Next up, we have something exciting for everyone watching. We have a live new drop. We know many of you have been looking for a faster way to access Boolean operations. Well, I'm excited to announce we are introducing new keyboard shortcuts for all Boolean operations. Yes, these shortcuts make it faster and more efficient to combine, modify, and manipulate shapes. Here's the breakdown. For all Mac users, hold Option, Shift, followed by the letter. So for union selection, U, subtract selection is S, intersect selection is I, exclude selection is E, and flatten selection will now be F. Quick tip, that's just the first letter of each of those words. Super helpful. But if you're used to using Command E for flatten, don't worry, it still works, and for PC users, you'll see the new keyboard shortcuts on the screen as well. With these shortcuts, you can give your hands and wrists a much-needed break. These shortcuts speed up your workflow and hopefully keep the strain away. All right, our last feature for design tools. Sometimes the assets you get are just a little too low resolution. Or maybe you have a screenshot that you tried to expand, it gets blurry, it gets grainy as it gets bigger. With Figma AI, you can boost the resolution of the images directly from the editor. So you can have a crispier image every time. Amazing, that's it for our design tools, but now let's jump into our lightning round of new features at Figma. We have some really exciting updates to share with you that touch on a bunch of the tools you know and love here at Figma.
Excited to get in the lightning round. I have to say there's a lot of love for the shortcuts in the chat, Sarah. And also we heard Lulu, Fabrizio, a few of you are excited for these, but said that was quick. This recording will be shared out, and there's also all kinds of information on the Figma social channels, as well as the Figma release notes, where you can see the specifics of all of those shortcuts, so you can start using them today. Heading into our lightning round, kicking things off, this next one is for our researchers or research-minded Figma users, of course. User testing has updated their Figma integration in order to create a more comprehensive testing experience. So you can now easily test your prototypes with hundreds of users and see exactly where they click with new heat maps and path analysis. This is perfect for catching those usability issues early.
Next up, we're adding styles and variables data directly to our library analytics in Figma, giving organization and enterprise teams better insights into how their design systems are being used. And we can actually take this a step further. We have Library Analytics API now out of beta for our enterprise teams. If you've ever wanted to learn more about, let's say, the ROI of your design system, you can now pull Figma design system data to build dashboards to fully manipulate, customize, and even merge with backend data to get better insights.
Who doesn't love a good data dashboard, right?
That's right.
Now over for dev mode, we recently launched Code Connect 1.3. It includes a number of fixes and improvements for Code Connect users. We now provide links to code located in other version control systems like GitLab, Azure DevOps, and Bitbucket. This helps users jump directly to design system code wherever it's being stored. The setup wizard has been improved also to make onboarding smoother with better framework detection and easier navigation. For projects with large files, we now group match components by pages, making creating new Code Connect files more manageable. And finally, Code Connect files for React components can now use a JavaScript extension instead of only supporting TypeScript extensions.
Also in dev mode, we're improving how you work with gradients by allowing you to inspect gradients with variables bound to color stops directly in dev mode, making handoff smoother and reducing the time developers spend tracking down the right variable names. In addition, we've also updated the plugin API to support inspecting and binding variables to gradient stops.
We're also making it easier than ever to find assets on Community. First, we're introducing an updated tagging system. This update streamlines your workflow by using structured tags to better categorize resources on Figma Community, so you can quickly locate the right files or assets instead of spending time manually searching. For creators, this makes it easier for others to find the work you share. So don't forget to add those new tags to your resources, and you can use our new, more streamlined UI flow that makes it easier than ever to publish content. Second, we also introduced community search as part of our Figma AI features. So with AI now, you can use a few words to search through the top community files, all right from the design editor.
Oh, I see people excited to start publishing.
Absolutely. Get in there, get publishing, get updating your files if you've already published.
Let's check out the new image sampling feature, which gives you more control over export quality. Now, when exporting images, you can choose between detailed, which is the default, and basic. Now, by default, Figma increases the quality of your images and gives you more control over the image sampling of your assets.
Finally, good news for SVG exports. Figma now clearly renders background blur, angular, and diamond gradients in SVGs, making it easier to design and export for the web. This update means less workarounds and more reliable exports straight from Figma, with one caveat that background blur rendering does vary by browser. That's it for our lightning round. Let's do a recap of everything we've gone over so far together. First, we talked about the entry point for Figma Slides right in Figma Design. Then we checked out how to edit template styles right from design mode in Figma Slides. Next, we learned about that file view history. And saving the best slides for last, we learned all about plugins and slides, and also about Rory's adorable dog, Torty. Torty! And moving on to FigJam, we learned about the new colors in FigJam, section locking improvements, and a thorough walkthrough of the new diagramming improvements with Luis.
And for design tools, we were able to take a deeper dive into lock aspect ratio, horizontal scrolling, frame improvements, Boolean ops keyboard shortcuts, and boost image resolution with Figma AI. Then we were able to dive into a bunch of features that relate to a lot of the tools here at Figma in our lightning round, including user testing, library analytics styles and variables, and don't forget about the API for enterprise teams, Code Connect 1.3 updates, gradient variable bindings in dev mode, structured tags on community resources and community search, image sampling, and finally, SVG improvements.
Thank you all so much for hanging with us today, and of course for your continuous feedback that drives our work. We saw so many of you in the chat today sharing feedback, and you're constantly sharing feedback in all of our community channels, and we can't thank you enough for all of that. Thank you also to everyone at Figma who's working to make the platform better every single day. I'd also like to give a big shout out to our advocates, Mal and Anna, who have been answering questions diligently in Zoom. I also saw a few sales folks jumping into the Zoom chat here. Ellie, I see you answering questions in the chat. Also want to give a big thank you to Luis and Rory for those engaging demos, and of course to my co-presenter, Sarah. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Yes, thank you so much, Kaitie. Thank you so much, everyone who's helping behind the scenes and who's watching. Wow, we covered a lot of ground today. Thank you all for joining us. If you loved it, let us know in the Zoom poll and we'll host more of these.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.